To eat meat or not to eat meat? That is the question. Whether 'tis more sustainable to consume the plant-based meat alternatives of today or to continue on as humans have for centuries. Okay, that's not what Shakespeare's Hamlet said, but this concept of the sustainability of the meat we choose to eat has become a topic of increasing importance in our modern society. But what is sustainability? My research defines sustainability with 3 pillars: the environment, the economy, and society. Meat alternatives such as Impossible Burger and Beyond Burger have been described as more sustainable substitutes to ground beef. But this is largely based on comparisons of their environmental impacts. So to gain a better understanding of the sustainability of these products, my research has considered both the economic and environmental impacts of replacing ground beef with these meat alternatives in the US. From this work, we found that ground beef contributes to less than 1% of the entire US economy. So replacing ground beef with meat alternatives doesn't actually lead to a shift in the broader economy. It does, however, result in a reduction in cattle production. Now, cattle production supports a large segment of US labor, from the ranchers who raise the animals to the essential workers who bring the cattle from the fields to our dinner plates. So this reduction in cattle production leads to a reduction in labor, meaning a loss in US jobs. When we now consider the environmental impacts of replacing ground beef with meat alternatives, surprisingly, we find an increase in land use. While a reduction in ground beef does mean less land is used directly for cattle, more than 40% of this land is too poor in quality to be used for any other purpose. So an increase in meat alternatives means an increase in agricultural land use. Another surprising result we find is an increase in greenhouse gas emissions. While cattle often get a bad rap for their methane emitting burps, meat alternative production is more fossil fuel intensive, meaning it has a greater impact on our climate long term. So, to eat meat or not to eat meat? The answer may, in fact, be both. My research has highlighted that there are a lot of trade-offs to consider when deciding whether to eat ground beef or meat alternatives. And with a growing global population, our focus shouldn't be on either or. It should be on how can we produce more of both sustainably. That way, there's room for all at our growing tables.